Hello dear readers. Today I want to introduce you to one of the richest people in the world, who was a philanthropist to the core and spent all his fortune on the requests of those in need. It's about Andrew Carnegie. The future entrepreneur was born in the small town of Dunfermline, Scotland, in 1835. For some time his family lived in prosperity, since his father worked as a weaver in a prestigious factory, and his mother was a shoemaker and sewed custom-made shoes for the rich. However, in the early 1840s, they all had to move to America, as the factory where the head of the family worked went bankrupt. Having sold all their possessions, including their house and land, the Carnegies settled in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, where their distant relatives lived and started life from scratch. Everything slowly began to improve. Andrew went to school, and at the age of 13 he got his first job as a fireman's assistant at the Blackstock Cotton Factory, with a salary of $1.03 a week. However, Carnegie did not work there for long, because the owner of the factory noticed how calligraphic the young man was and offered him the position of personal clerk. Since then, Andrew's career began to develop at a breakneck pace. In the early 1850s, he began working at the Ohio Telegraph, already earning $2.05 a week, and by the age of 16, the guy was almost the only telegraph operator in America who knew how to decipher messages aloud. This allowed him to stand out from the competition, and by the age of 18 became the personal telegraph operator of Thomas Scott, the manager of the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. For his work, he received $35 a month. Andrew did not spend this huge money by those standards on entertainment, but invested in the shares of Adams Express, which grew by $200 in a short period of time. Having enriched himself by several $1,000s at once, the young man invested all the money in the shares of Third National Bank, as well as oil and bridge building companies, which significantly improved the financial condition of his family. In 1856, Thomas Scott went up the career ladder, becoming director of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and invited his best assistant to move with him to Alton, where his headquarters was located. Carnegie, of course, agreed. Having settled in a new place, the young man met Woodruff, the inventor of sleeping cars, who showed him a completely new type of passenger cars, designed for night travel on the railways. Andrew was impressed. He literally saw how these cars would be in demand, and therefore offered Woodruff a partnership on the terms that he would own an eighth of the shares of his enterprise. They shook hands, and a few months later, they began to make a profit from the sale of cars. In 1859, Carnegie was promoted to manager of the Pittsburgh section of the Pennsylvania Railroad, with a salary of $1,600 a year. But with the outbreak of the Civil War 1861 to 1865, he went to Washington to help Scott in the Department of Military Telegraph Service. A year later, huge deposits of oil in Pennsylvania were discovered in the United States, and powerful people began to offer offers to acquire areas where mining mines could be created. And Andrew was on the list of such people. He was offered to purchase 2 wells for $40,000, and he naturally agreed. Carnegie immediately realized that the demand for oil would only grow, and therefore additionally acquired the largest source in the state, which allowed him to create a production for the manufacture of machine oil. In the same year, he established the Pieper Schiffler firm, which was later renamed the Keystone Bridge Building Society. Being engaged in the production of railway bridges and rails, the successful entrepreneur drew attention to how malleable iron is, and therefore began to work in forging at the same time. Together with his younger brother, he established a small, cyclopean plant, which later merged with the main production, creating a joint enterprise, Union Metallurgical Plants. In 1865, Andrew left the Pennsylvania Railroad, and a year later, with Thomas Miller, founded the Pittsburgh Steam Locomotive Factory, which quickly began to generate huge income. In 1867, Carnegie moved to New York and began building a bridge over the Mississippi, after which he founded the Pullman Sleeping Car Society. And after another 3 years, he began the production of cast iron. In 1873, the entrepreneur opened a steel rail plant, which brought him $11,000 in net profit in the first month. Over the next several years, Andrew Carnegie continued to expand his business, opening new plants and factories, as well as displacing competitors from the market. His personal fortune was estimated at $310 billion.